I'm riding a wave of such intense, visceral frustration. Right now, I think I could power MetLife Stadium for a year.
If we actually use that energy to finally clean the place up.
Exactly. We are diving into the smoking wreckage of what we all just witnessed because 33-15, that's not a football score. That is a cry for organizational help.
Like, it's an indictment. I mean, you watched a team, your team, commit the ultimate sin.
Which is?
They did not compete.
Yeah.
And frankly, the entire experience, it felt less like watching a professional sports team and more like watching a highly produced, very expensive training video on how to just completely collapse under pressure.
The optics alone were staggering. This latest catastrophe, this comprehensive display of organizational failure, it happened on John Mara's birthday.
Oh, I know.
The team presented him with a flaming dumpster tied with a little blue bow, and we're just supposed to accept it as part of the process.
And that's the core issue, isn't it? This failure isn't some fluke. It's a systemic, rotting culture.
And if you want a perfect symbol of just how broken things are, look no further than the first few minutes, the hit on Gunnar Olszewski.
Oh my God. He got KO'd so hard. The returner is doing his job, running hard, and he just takes an absolute career-shortening shot directly to the head.
I was absolutely stunned. I thought, okay, flags everywhere. He's out.
And what did the NFL rule after the review?
Legal. They called that head-jarring, consciousness-stealing blow a legal hit.
Unbelievable.
That one play where our guy gets physically obliterated and the league just shrugs, it perfectly symbolizes this entire season. It's been unjust, it's been brutal, and frankly, it's been humiliating.
So that's our mission today. We're here to unpack the arguments coming directly from the deepest, angriest corners of the fan critique.
Why this entire structure, from ownership all the way down to the culture in the locker room, requires immediate fumigation.
We need to identify the three core areas of failure: the systemic malaise, the tactical cowardice, and the cultural rot.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because we have to start with the devastating, damning numbers. The ones that mandate change at the very top. The losing liturgy, if you will.
The numbers don't just suggest change. They scream for an exorcism. That was 7 straight losses.
7.
We are now sitting at 11 total losses this year. But the stat that defines this entire era, the one that should make ownership lose sleep, is that this franchise has now lost 25 of its last 30 games.
25 of 30.
When you reach that level of consistent, uncompetitive failure, you've moved past rebuilding. This is organizational collapse.
And who is the architect of this House of L's? I'm looking straight at Joe Schoen. You know what the fan base is calling him now?
What's that?
The Bob Ross of rebuilds.
Which is funny and painfully accurate. He's only painting L's with happy little trees, and the landscape is looking completely barren.
Right. But we have to go beyond the analogy and look at the actual strategy.
Okay, so when Schoen came in, he inherited a cap disaster. That's true. You have to acknowledge that.
We gave him credit for that. He cleared the books. But what about now? The critique is focused on his recent tenure. Where are the high-value picks that define a successful rebuild?
Exactly. He's paid cornerstone guys like Dexter Lawrence and Andrew Thomas, which, you had to do. But the depth behind them, it's non-existent.
That's the strategic nugget. A successful rebuild means consistently hitting on your mid-round picks, finding value in free agency to elevate the floor.
Instead, we have a roster whose foundation is shaky, forcing us to rely on players who should be rotational guys to fill starting roles.
And that's where the accountability gap starts. The ownership enables this culture. They accept a 3-year collapse without demanding tangible on-field improvement from the GM in year 3.
The ownership stink is overwhelming. It seems like they're allergic to the concept of professional standards.
The source material demands industrial-strength Dawn soap and a hazmat team to scrub the loser residue off MetLife Stadium.
And I hear Schoen is supposed to speak to the media soon.
Yeah, and the consensus is pretty clear on that.
If he's not announcing his resignation, or at least throwing out an explanation that holds himself genuinely accountable for those 25 losses, then why is he even talking?
The fan base has lost faith that the structure above him, meaning the Mara family, will actually demand success. The feeling is that Schoen is safe, not because he's doing a good job, but because he's compliant.
And that's where the failure starts permeating the sideline.
Let's shift our critique to interim head coach Mike Kafka, who I am now officially renaming the Master of Mid, the Sultan of Surrender.
His play calling just reflects a profound lack of aggression. It's a direct strategic failure. His decisions were dictated by fear not by a desire to win.
It's like they were trying to manage the clock for the other team, just desperately trying to lose slower, as the source material put it.
Yeah, and think about the context. You're down 20 points, it's the third quarter, and you're trying to establish the run like it's 1995.
You're actively taking the ball out of the hands of the one player who is showing you any promise.
But the moment that solidified it for me, the moment he became the quitter-in-chief.
Punting on 4th and 1 at your own 42-yard line. Your own 42,
Right.
You have nothing to play for except evaluating your rookie quarterback's ability to get a single yard. It's the definition of organizational cowardice.
Okay, but let me play devil's advocate for a second.
Go ahead.
Was that punt not maybe a practical necessity, given how truly abysmal the offensive line was playing?
I don't know.
I mean, if you go for it and you fail, the opponent starts inside your 40. The score looks even worse. Is Kafka a coward, or is he just responding rationally to an organization that gave him zero trust in his personnel?
I appreciate the nuance, but at some point, you have to choose to compete. You are paid to coach a professional football team, not to manage the statistical distribution of defeat.
Fair enough.
If you don't trust your quarterback, the only long-term hope you have to get 1 yard, then you have failed at every single level of game planning. That punt showed zero faith in the future and zero guts in the present.
And that lack of aggression, it extends beyond the play sheet. It goes right into the locker room.
Which leads us directly to the Abdul Carter accountability disaster.
This transition is critical because it connects the tactical failure with the cultural failure. We have Abdul Carter, a veteran player, suspended not once, but twice.
For missing team meetings, just showing up, the most basic level of professional responsibility.
And then he finally gets a sack while the team is down 17 points.
And he's celebrating by doing a Darth Maul force choke dance. A dance. It's the tone deafness that just kills you.
You've been a liability to this team, and when you finally manage to do one positive thing while you're already out of the game, you prioritize self-aggrandizement over any kind of organizational dignity.
And then came the quote that should define the rot in this organization.
When the media asked him about being late, his response was the flippant, disrespectful, "Shh, happens."
That is not an apology. That is the sound of a player who believes he is completely immune from any real consequences.
And what was the punishment?
He got benched for a quarter. A quarter.
That is the organizational definition of inadequacy. It's like putting a kid in timeout for starting a fire.
It sends a message to every young player on that roster. Veteran complacency will be tolerated. Showing up is optional.
That's the key insight. This raises the fundamental question. If Kafka and the coaching staff are too afraid to go for it on 4th and 1, are they also too timid to enforce real professional accountability in the locker room?
The two forms of aggression, tactical and managerial, they're linked.
And when a player can say "shh" happens and only face a mild inconvenience, the culture of integrity has already evaporated.
Despite the overwhelming stench of failure coming from the front office, from the coaching staff, there's one reason. One shining, beautiful, concussed cowboy reason why we still tune in.
Jackson Dart.
He is the future. He is the lone, undeniable star.
Dart gets launched into another zip code by a linebacker. He gets up, shakes the cobwebs, and just keeps slinging it. He displayed truly high-level skills in that game that far exceed what you expect from a rookie thrown into this chaotic environment.
What specifically caught your eye? Because it's not just the grit, it's the cerebral part of his game.
Absolutely. The film showed him actively checking protections pre-snap. He was diagnosing blitzes, making accurate hot reads.
And when you have an offensive line that is shuffling players and actively struggling to block simple four-man rushes,
the quarterback's ability to check protections is the most critical skill he can possess. And Dart has it. He was throwing lasers off his back foot even when pressure was in his face.
Which, again, makes Kafka's mismanagement of him even more infuriating. The coaching staff treats him like a porcelain doll in a bodega window.
They seem afraid to let him use the skills he clearly possesses.
Kafka actively undermined Dart's development in that game. The goal seemed to be protect Dart by bubble wrapping him and resorting to handing the ball off 73 times.
When you have a QB showing that level of promise and grit, you have to let him cook. You need to open the playbook, use the whole field, let him learn through aggressive failure, not through conservative suffocation.
Treating him like he's gonna break is the surest way to stall his development.
Now, let's pivot to the other side of the ball.
If the offense was cautious, the defense was merely a suggestion. This defense is soft T. like therapy puppies and shoulder pads, like banana pudding.
Like a Drake lyric.
Exactly. And strategically, what defines this softness?
It starts with the absolute failure to stop the run. When the other team, featuring backups on their offensive line, can consistently get positive yardage on first and second down, your entire defensive game plan is compromised.
They couldn't tackle the air in that game. They were humiliated.
We're supposed to have these defensive stalwarts, but you look at the individual failures.
Tyler Nubin, who we desperately need to develop, was thrown into the sideline like a beach towel.
And Deonte Banks still struggles with the most basic element of coverage, turning his head to find the football.
It's unbelievable. And the ultimate shame of the day was who was doing the punishing.
The opposition was running out backups on their offensive line because of injuries.
And we still couldn't win at the line of scrimmage against their B team. That's a catastrophic coaching and effort failure.
We were getting cooked by players whose names sound like they were generated in Madden story mode.
We made Pharaoh Brown look like Travis Kelce, and we got sunned by Aldi brand wide receivers, according to the source critique. That is a failure of scheme, talent evaluation, and most damningly of effort.
When your defense lets the other team, using backup resources, consistently dominate the trenches, it just signals an acceptance of incompetence.
Even Dexter Lawrence, who is one of the few players we've paid to be dominant, was smiling mid-game.
I saw that. I don't know if it was fatigue or surrender, but when your highest paid, most impactful players are showing that body language during a historic beatdown, the culture is truly, truly compromised.
Okay, before we move to the final, necessary clean house mandate, let's give our listeners 2 seconds of pure hope the source material managed to find.
Okay.
What were the positives, if you squinted hard enough?
Slayton had a nice touchdown reception, which was a good effort play. Dart made several big-time throws that showed his deep potential and vision.
Right.
And Nubin actually did make one tackle that was technically sound, and Theo Johnson caught one pass.
And then immediately dropped one on the next drive.
Exactly. So, yes, the positives are momentary and immediately countered by incompetence. But Dart's flashes are real.
That is the bar, folks. Flashes are the win. But now we have to talk about the inevitable. This organization needs to be fumigated. We need a mandate for complete professional restructuring, and we need it now.
We absolutely do. This isn't just about firing a coach. This is about an organizational emergency. We need to incinerate Brian Daboll's playbook, shred Joe Schoen's binder filled with all those L's, and just initiate a full top-down cleanse.
The source material frames this correctly. The rot starts with ownership accepting this level of failure.
We need a full detox, not just a cleanup, but a spiritual cleansing to remove the loser residue. We need a ritual.
What kind of ritual?
The only way forward is ritualistic. We need to get the sage, the holy oil, and this is a requirement, Eli Manning's forehead sweat to scrub the stink off the entire franchise.
This cultural rot has to be stopped before it infects Jackson Dart's future.
The organizational malaise is defined by the owner's complacency, which protects GM Joe Schoen's systemic failures, which in turn leads to Mike Kafka's tactical cowardice and the cultural breakdown we saw with Abdul Carter.
So what does this all mean for you, the dedicated but exhausted fan? The Giants suffer from organizational sickness, catastrophic culture issues, and paralyzing coaching, all happening despite having one clear, undeniable signal of hope in Jackson Dart.
The final and most provocative thought for you to consider is this. If the current organizational structure refuses to implement strict, meaningful accountability for veteran players like Abdul Carter players who actively disrespect the commitment required, what message does that send?
What does that send to the young cornerstone players like Jackson Dart who are giving everything they have?
How quickly will the remaining organizational integrity just evaporate when the kids see the vets getting away with it happens?
The long-term cost of choosing complacency over actually cleaning house, it isn't measured in losses this year. It's measured in the potential destruction of that one precious piece of hope we have left for the future.
So if you love this team, pray for the fumigators to arrive. If you are Abdul Carter, show up to the damn meeting.
Until next time, stay caffeinated, stay petty, and let's hold the line for Jackson Dart. Just wanted to say a massive thank you for tuning in to Big Blue Tea.
Absolutely. And, a huge shout out always to BLKFREEZYTV.
Oh, definitely.
For the fantastic programming, the production, everything that makes this possible.
Yep. Their work behind the scenes is just really appreciated.
It really is.
This has been Big Blue Tea.